All right. It is my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Alex. Come on up. Let's give Alex a warm welcome. And Alex, you can adjust the mic if you need to.
Thank you so much.
And Sean was here, but he'll give you a 5 and a 2 minute right to the back. He'll be right here.
My name's Alex, and I'm an alcoholic addict. I want to thank Nancy for calling upon me, and I want to thank you guys for allowing me to be here, man. For allowing me to visit myself, and I also want to thank the God of my understanding, whom I call Jesus Christ, man. The big book of Alcoholics Anonymous says that I don't make any apologies for my God, man. I gotta give him his props, man. So I just want to thank God for me, allowing me to be here today. Wow. I've come a long way, man. I've come a long way. I was born in 1962. My father was a military man, World War II veteran, hardworking man. And then my mom, she was an old school Mexican woman, man, from Mexico. And so they had me and my brother. I had a brother named Richard. And my brother, well, rest in peace, he died when COVID hit. He died at 60 years old. So, but my dad died when I was 6 years old. So I didn't really have a dad. I didn't have the father figure, somebody to raise me, So there my mom was. My mom, in my opinion, she did a hell of a job, man, taking care of us, She did the best she could, She had a brother, rest in peace. He lived up the street from us. My uncle Louis, he had two twins that died from the disease of addiction, man, And but during the time that I was growing up, man, I did really good in school. I took education as I did really good, man. I was part of the spelling bee, like a spelling bee contest, man. I was real good in English, mathematics, everything, man. And then my mom, she put us in sports all the time, man. She felt like we needed to be involved in something, man. So, man, I played 13 years of baseball. I played four years of basketball, 3 years of soccer, and 1 year of football. I love sports. I love sports. My team is or was the Miami Dolphins, man. In 1972, they had the perfect season, man. I was 10 years old watching them go all the way, And so now they're not doing good at all, man. Now I'm leaning towards the Los Angeles Rams. I get tired. I'm getting tired of supporting a losing team year after year. All I remember is 1972, man. So I have a passion for sports, man. I like sports and education. And so growing up, man. I guess there was a part of me that there was something missing, man. You know what I mean? Growing up without a father, like I would see people without I would see people with a father. So I felt like I felt empty. I felt for some reason, I don't know what I was feeling at times, but I just felt like, man, I knew I was missing things in my life, And my mom, she couldn't speak any English, man. My father brought her from Mexico, married an old-fashioned Mexican woman, man. She didn't drive. My dad didn't allow her to drive. Nothing. Just be a mother. She kept the house clean. Everything. Raised us, and so that was my mom's role, man. My father was very militant, very disciplined, man. And so So that's what I know about my dad, man. That he was a hardworking man, and but he was an alcoholic. He was a functioning alcoholic. When he got out of the military, he was still in the reserves. So I vaguely remember that on weekends the guys would go pick him up and they would drop him off on the porch, and his pants were all wet, man. You know what I mean? He was drunk, man, and then my mom would take care of him. But on the weekdays, man, the guy got up and went to work and did what he had to do. So I just remember there was times with my dad. Uh, well, we were in Washington. We were in Washington, man, on the state of was it? He was stationed out in Fort Lewis when he was in the Army Reserves, and so they had a lake out there, man. I'm just telling you a little bit about myself. I'm gonna go on in different little ways. I remember I had an experience, man, where I was swimming, and it was in a lake. It was in four sections. And so it was in four sections, man. I started swimming. All of a sudden, I felt like I was drowning, man, because in the middle of the lake there was a big old deck, and I was just swimming out there, man, and I felt like I was drowning, man. I seen my whole life flash in front of me at 6 years old. It was crazy, man. And then I get up, man, and I see my dad. Come on, come on. So those are things that I remember about my father, man. That we had our rafts. We swam a little bit. My father was a sports fan, and then he passed away in 1969. I was able to witness my father getting a salute, a 21 gun salute. Because he was in World War II, and so and then I also remember my dad physically abusing me, man, when I was young, and I was like, wow, in the steps, when you're doing your steps, you're either a victim or you're the what do they call it? Aggressor. Or the aggressor. So I was a victim, man. At 5 years old, man. My dad physically abusing me. And so well, later on, when I started doing my step work, man, I realized when my dad was gone, we went into his bedroom. We went into his bedroom and found a bunch of Truanols, Quaaludes, Reds. And then when I started doing my step work, man, I realized that my dad was traumatized from the war, man. So that's why he would take those pills. But little did I know that there's cycles, man. There's cycles in our life that we have to break, man. Because sometimes I carried those. I carry those same cycles that my dad carried. I wound up doing that to one of my kids, man. You know what I mean? In my addiction, and also with my dad, my mom was mentally ill, man, because she came from Mexico, man. She couldn't drive, she couldn't speak English. She had a rough childhood, man, you know what I mean? And so at times my mom would have a mental breakdown, man, and my dad would take her to Metropolitan State Hospital. And then what I seen, man, my dad would be in adulterous affairs. So that's what I carried into my life, man. Adultery. You know what I mean? Um, my mom was verbally abusive. You know what I mean? And that's what I carried. Being verbally abusive, man. Wow, it's crazy, man. I'm, you know, I'm glad that it didn't affect me the way it affected my brother's son, because it kind of trickled down to my brother's son, and then my son. He has a little bit of that. But I just thank God, man. I thank God that wow, back in 2004, I would come in and out of the rooms, man. I would come in and out of the rooms. My main cup of tea was heroin and crack cocaine, man. Um, and I would come in and out, man, just in the back, just quiet, because I know that well, my disease, man, we come in with guilt and shame, you know what I mean? And the wreckage that we cause, everything, man. So um, I'd be back there, and I guess God was just using people little by little, man, just speaking to me, man, or you know what I mean, like get me to the place of surrenderance, you know. So I went into a home, man, in 1997. Uh, I grew up in Redondo Beach, and we squandered off a $500,000 inheritance, man, at Redondo Beach. 4 houses, man, free and clear. Me and my brother, man. 7 years later, we were broke, homeless, and hungry, man, in and out of prison, you know. And so, that disease, man, that disease doesn't play, man. I know that the disease, the devil, whatever you want to call him, man, he hates me, man. He hates me because he knows that I'm on the winning side now, man. You know, I always had a concept of God, but I really didn't know who he was, man. I thought he was just a name. You know what I mean? And and today I know that my God's real, man. You know, he's a spirit, and I think the basic text says that our Creator, He lives inside of us, man. You know, and so um, in 1997, man, after squandering off a $500 million inheritance, and my life being in danger, we do a lot of stuff out there, man. You know what I mean? That's why I know I see people leave programs, man, and they're dead. You know, because we go back out to our same stuff, man. You know, and so I had an encounter with God, man, in this place, man, and I started to reverence Him, man, because I did a we can all get scandalous, man. I don't know about you, but I was pretty scandalous when I was out there, man. I was raised from a good family, man, but those drugs had me going, man. Um, but later on, I got hit with colorectal cancer in 2004, and that's what really drove me into the work. At that time, I got into Alcoholics Anonymous, and I did my step work in Alcoholics Anonymous, man. You know, and I got hit with colorectal cancer, and I was going through a divorce, and I was in a sober living home for 2 years on 19th Street, man. And I thank God for that, man. You know what I mean? That God had seen fit, man, to to take me to the sober living, man. You know, and so wow, that was a beautiful experience, more or less. You know, like I was going through a divorce. You know what I mean? I had colorectal cancer, man, and the big book talks about when you get a sponsor to pray for that person, pray for the right person to be your sponsor, man, because that's the person that you're gonna give that man all your secrets, all your hurts, all the stuff that you did to people, man. And it's crazy how God worked. He gave me like at that time he was like in his late 70s or early 80s. He was a World War II veteran, man, like my dad. We were almost the same. I was like almost like him at 80 years old, the exact person. We went through the same kind of trauma. Um, he had colorectal cancer. He would give me his colostomy bags, and I was like, wow, man, God gave me the right man. When I did my fifth step, it took me 3 days, man, to go to him and and confess to him some of the things that I did, some of the things that happened to me. And man, he related, and I thank God today that I was able to, like they say, discover, discard to recover, man. You know what I mean? And and it brought healing to my life, man. That's what the steps do. It says it brings healing, peace, and serenity. I can what the steps did to me, man, is it allowed me to be free on the inside, man. Do I want to fix off with things at times? I do, man. But I know when the going gets tough, man. It's just me and God, man. You know what I mean? I'm pretty careful, and I would suggest, like there's a lot of gods out there, man. There's a lot of gods. I've had people come to me, and when I'm reaching out, when I'm vulnerable, I'm getting ready to get tempted, man, because I know that disease he doesn't play around, man. When temptation comes, I can try to get weak. I get weak, man. So I gotta watch whose people their God is, because they could have me running around to massage parlors, man. Stuff that, you know what I mean? Stuff that I don't want to do, but that maybe I like what the big book. I like what the big book says. That the body is just as sick as the mind, man. My body wants to do contrary, man. It doesn't want to stay clean. It doesn't want to do the right things, man. And so when I feel tempted, man, I thank God that I'm able to be vulnerable. I'm able to reach out. I'm able to tell on myself, man. You know what I mean? I'm able to get in prayer, man. And because I know when I'm being tempted, I know when I'm going through certain things in my life, man. And and I like what the basic text says in Narcotics Anonymous, man. It says the more we pray, the less we hurt, man. The less we hurt. I went through my steps, and you know what? I always try to carry that 10th step, man. It says we look for fear, dishonesty, selfishness, and resentment. You know what I mean? And I look for that stuff, and then I talk about it, man. You know, and that does a lot for me, because you know what? Somebody was sharing last week at the park that they say you better be careful what you pray for, man. You know, and so I know me. I'm a man. And and I've been married. This is my third marriage, man. And both of my marriages, my previous marriages, I didn't give them a chance to heal. I didn't give the women a chance to heal, man. So my last one, I was clean and sober for like 8 years, man. And then I had the case of the efforts. So I went and drank with her. I went and drank with my ex-wife to see if it would better my marriage, and it didn't, man. After a couple of years of that, I had to tell her, I had to excuse myself from that relationship, and I filed for divorce, you know. And so here I was waiting again, man. I waited for 3 years, and they always say if you want the right one, you got to be the right one, man. You know what I mean? And that's what I did, man. I thank God today, man, that you know what. As angry as I can get sometimes. The only time I feel like I really get angry is on the freeway. You know, everybody's going 100 miles an hour, man. And I'm going like 60 miles an hour, man. And they want me to go 100 miles an hour too. So sometimes I lose it on the freeway a little bit. But I thank God today, man, that I'm not giving you a piece of my mind, man. You know, in your face, man. You know, I've been a barber for over 40 years. And I've had the chance to work here at Fred Brown's for a year, back in 2009. And I thank God for the people that were here. I thank God for Roxy. She's here. I heard her say something that she's in her purpose, and that's where I want to be, man. I want to be in my purpose. I've been barbering for 40 years, and my mom, God bless her, man. She seen something in me that I didn't see in myself, man. She goes, son, I want you to be a barber. Back in those days, people used to smoke their little Camel non-filters, you know, at the dinner table. And my mom, old-fashioned Mexican woman, because her side of the family, they were barbers and stylists. But I was too busy getting loaded. I said, yeah, okay, whatever, mom, you know. Well, 10 years later, man, I'm here. I'm on my 10 years later, I wound up being a barber, but I'm on my way to state prison. You know what I mean? And I finally, I said, wow, I'm going to try cutting hair in there. And I did. And I wound up going to barber college, and I wound up getting my barber certificate. So, you know, in counseling, they say you have to have a plan of action, man. You know, you have to have a plan of action, man. We can all say we're going to do this, do that, and the other, but if we don't have that plan, man, we're not going to get anywhere, you know? And so that's why I always say it's very important for me. I'm a high, what is it? I'm high on vocational, you know? And I went to school later on. I went to school to be a drug and alcohol counselor, man. I thank God today that, man, when I was here and working in Fred Brown's, they talked about the I feel statement, man. I still use that, you know, like wow, alcoholics and addicts, man, we're not used to telling people how we feel, man. We stuff our feelings with drugs, with alcohol. We don't want to talk about our feelings, man, you know. But I thank God today, man, that I get to talk about my feelings, man, especially being in a relationship, you know, like I'm aware of my feelings today, man. You know, I can say, man, I feel angry, sad, I feel provoked, belittled, whatever it is I'm feeling today, man. I could talk about it, man. You know, and I think God has some coping skills today. I could call somebody. I could tell on myself today, man. If I'm in pain, I share about it, man. They say pain shared is pain lessened, man. And I knew, well, in 2004, when I got hit with colorectal cancer, man, I went back into my addiction, man, you know, because I didn't know how to handle cancer. I thought it was a death sentence, man. And so that's why I know there's three types of pain, man. There's the pain that God leaves in you, man, to surrender, man, you know, and there's a pain where if we don't deal with it right, man, that's why I know people that committed suicide, man, you know, because they don't know how to deal with that stuff, man, you know. And there's a pain that I could share about when I'm going through painful moments in my life, man, you know. And so, wow, um, I'm sick. I'll be 65. Wow, it's crazy, man. I should be dead, man. Really should be dead, you know. Like I've been stabbed over the drugs. I've been shot over representing something back in my days, city that, you know what I mean, that we all grew up. I started off with drugs. I started off with marijuana and alcohol. Then it elevated to drugs, heroin, crack cocaine. I started using at 15 years old, man. And then the disease just started escalating, man. It just started progressing, you know. But I thank God, man, that I was able to take heed to that, to surrender, you know. And today, well, it's a daily thing, man. I got to surrender my will daily, my actions, how I feel, what I want to do, man, you know. And that's a daily thing that I find myself doing, man, because sometimes I want to go against the grain. Sometimes I do, man, but I don't take people's wives anymore, man. I don't do that stuff. I had to make amends to the first guy, you know, until, man, even though I justified it, even though they were separated for 5 years, you know, I got with my first wife, and I had to make amends to her husband, even though they were separated for 5 years, man. So those are the things that I see myself doing, man. You know, I can't remember what it says that is spiritual progress, not perfection, man. You know, and you know, that second step talks about restoring me to sanity. I still think crazy sometimes, you know, but I don't act on that stuff, man. You know what I mean? I pay my bills today. You know what I mean? I abide by the law today, man. You know what I mean? I don't take heed to that stuff, you know. Um, I turn my will over every day, man. Um, you know, it says sought through prayer and meditation. You don't have to wait to get to that 11th step to pray, man, you know, because I tell you, man, that disease is strong, man. You know, he's strong. And if we don't have God, man, that higher power, man, that he's greater than that disease, man, I'll tell you, we can overcome anything through people, you know what I mean? Meetings, a support group, somebody, a sponsor. Um, we can overcome anything, man. The no matter what, it's like they say, you know. Um, Today I thank God I have my self-respect back, man, my dignity, you know what I mean? I learned integrity. Who am I when nobody's looking, man? You know what I mean? I know when nobody's looking, I know God's looking, man, you know, because I have a certain gift, you know what I mean, that I used to use when I was in my disease and my addiction, man, you know, and it was pretty influential, man. When I was on one, man, you know what I mean? I thought I was really good, man. But now today I want to use whatever gifts that I have, man, to help people, to influence them, man. You know, because I really had to I had to pay a heavy price for steering people the wrong way. You know what I mean? Telling people to pull over, pull over. I need to talk to you, man. The steps are designed in order, man. You know, it's crazy because I never thought that I would do a fourth and fifth step. I never thought I would tell anybody anything about my life. I thought I would go to the grave. You know what I mean? With all my secrets, man. You know, um, I was raised when my mom was in the hospital. There was my aunts. You know what I mean? So growing up at a young age, I had a hard time. I had a hard time with who I was, man. You know what I mean? Because I was around a lot of women, man. There was like a feminine side to me. You know what I mean? It's crazy, man. Because I'm around my mom, my aunts. I didn't have a father figure to me, with me, you know. So I just thank God today, man, that I know who I am today, man. I know that God has really did a lot of my life today, man, and I thank God that I'm able to help people today, man. You know, um, well, I'll be 65. I'm going to retire. I told myself I'm going to retire in 2 months from barbering. I have my own barber shop. I try to give my family, my kids. I made amends to my kids, and I like the word amends. It says amends is not I'm sorry. Amends is how can I make it right to you, man. So if I see somebody that I burned out in the street, man, I didn't care if they were in their addiction or not, man. I owed them money. Like, here's your money, man. Whatever I needed to do to make it right between me and God and that person, that's what I was gonna do, man. You know. Um, I like what the big book says, man. The big book says, how can I be of maximum service to God and others, man? And that's on a daily basis, man. My prayers are not gimme, do this, do that. Out of gratitude, man, I ask God, what can I do for you? What can I do for you, man? You know? And through that, it's crazy, man. Through that, I like to travel. I like to travel. I've been to India. I've been to India, man. I've been to Ireland, and I took AA with me to Ireland, man. You know what I mean? I've been to Hawaii, Puerto Rico. I've been to Mexico. My wife, I gave her a job, man. I gave my wife a job, and like they said, watch out what you pray for, because you just might get it, man. I wound up getting married about a year and a half ago, you know. And my wife's 20 years younger than me, man. I go, wow, that's crazy, man. You know, I feel like I have to deal with a daughter and a beautiful woman and my mom, everybody, man. It's crazy, you know. One time she was trying to scold me, you know. She's trying to scold me. She locked us out of the bedroom, and she was trying to scold me, and my pride wanted to rise up. So, man, who do you think you are, man? You're 40 years old, man. You're talking to somebody, and then I didn't say that, but my mindset, you know. And then I shut up, man. I just took her little lecture, and yeah, you're right, man. You're right. So I like the fact that in counseling they talk about anger, man. You know, anger stems from hurt, betrayal, injustice. But I thank God today that when I'm angry, I channel it. I can either write about it, talk about it, exercise, do something positive with my anger. And then they always say, come back and then talk about what made you mad, you know? And so I tell myself I know too much, man. Part of me. I know very little, but I know too much, man. You know that I can't go back out there, man. I can't even no, man. You know, um, I like to well, I learned how to be a good father today, man. I learned how to be a good father, a good provider, a good worker, things that I never was, you know. I didn't grow up like that, man. I was always a taker, you know. And so but through the program, man, I've always asked people. I looked around, man. I like what they say with people. Don't just watch their mouth, watch your feet. You know, because sometimes we can all talk a good one, you know, but I want to see who's really doing it, man. Are you a good father? Are you a good husband? Are you a good friend or whatever it is? You know, so I pick those people, man. I pick them, and then I ask, like, man, show me how to be a good worker, a provider, man, or a father, a son, whatever it is I need to learn, man. And so I like to be open minded. I teachable, humble, man. That's what humility is. Teachable, be open minded, man. You know, be willing to learn something different today. You know, my advice. I was in the sober living for 2 years, man, and then I hear people that, well, my son and my son-in-law, they went through the program and then they want to go back to mama's. You know, take advantage of the 5 months that they give you guys here. Save your money. You don't have you don't gotta pay no rent for a little bit. What a blessing that is, you know? And find out what God wants to do in your life, man. Go back to school, do something that you never did before, man, you know? And you'll see that what they say, more will be revealed, man. You know what I mean? Um, I'm gonna say this and shut up, man. One of the things in the basic text of Narcotics Anonymous, you know what, I go to Narcotics Anonymous now, but I did my steps in AA. But Narcotics Anonymous, it says, okay, I got the job, I got the house, I'm overpaid, I got things that I didn't even ask for. Like it came back full circle, you know. I got all that, but the best thing that I have today is, wow, I get to love today, man. People love me and I love them. I get to feel everything in one day, man. Sadness, depression. I get to feel happy. So many feelings all in one day, man. And I know today that whatever I'm feeling, like if I'm going through a rough time, man, I know this too shall pass, man. It's gonna pass, man. I know that there's seasons in my life that are just unbearable, man. One time I was in the sober living. 5 times a day, man, I'd be on my knees cleaning out that bag, man, going through a divorce and cancer. And I was telling God, crying, and 5, 6 times a day, I can't take this, man. I got cancer. I'm going through a divorce. I tell God, I can't take this, man. Sometimes God will give us more than we can handle so we can turn it over to him, man.
That's right.
And then I told God, I can't take this. And I heard that little still small voice saying, I know you can't, but I can. And when I turned it over to him, boom, somebody would call me. We're having an event over here, or they're having this, that, and the other, you know? So all I know today, man, stay humble, man, stay teachable, man. And thank God that you're here today, man. God has a good purpose, a good plan for your life. But your job is to find out what it is, man. Your job is to find out what it is. Thank you guys for allowing me to be here, man.